Secretary Rai, it appears that all members of the segment are present, so you can call the meeting to order.
Well, let's get it started. Good morning, everyone, again, and thank you for all your wonderful work on your campuses. I know, to say that higher education is under stress will be an understatement in today's environment. In spite of the challenges and barriers that are in front of you, I really commend you for serving our students and trying to make sure that they are not impacted and they are helping them reach their goals in life. This is an exciting time in higher education, especially this month. We are pretty much done with the spring break. Students have come back and the commencements are around the corner. And that is the best part, seeing students walk through the stage, helping them reach their goals in life, and there will be a new beginning for them. I'm trying to attend as many commencements as I can. So if you haven't sent your information, please send them. I'll make sure to be there. I don't have to speak. I can be just in the attendance, in the audience. That will be wonderful. We have a lot of very important agenda items today. We will start. Let me start with the approval of minutes. There are two of them, November 18 and January 13th meeting minutes. Any discussion on the minutes? Any suggestion, edits? If not, then I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second. So it's moved. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Okay. Abstentions? Any noes? Oh, thank you. Minutes are passed. Today, we are going to hear from iMentor Group. They are going to make a presentation for us. Dr. Dow, will you introduce them, please? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Secretary Rai. Good morning, Segmental Advisory Council representatives. I will be brief with my remarks. We have the organization iMentor here with us today. They provide, you'll hear more, but they provide a useful service in connecting students with specific mentors, particularly those within industry partners. They are highly connected with some very big foundational organizations. And they are already working with some of our Maryland institutions. They came to us, MHEC, to say, hey, how can we engage with more institutions? And I said, well, let's have you do a presentation to the Segmental Advisory Council as an introduction to you all who represent the various segments. So they have a short presentation. The ask here is that they do connect with some of your campuses in a targeted strategic effort to engage students in mentoring opportunities for that education, career, pathway alignment. The last thing that I'll say is when we talked about this, knowing that there is a tremendous focus on cyber, computer science, anything in the AI field, I said, can we focus any mentoring opportunities in Maryland to those fields? And they said, absolutely. So they went back to their business partners, and they already have a handful of business partners who are committed to focusing in that cybersecurity, computer science arena. So pretty exciting work. Again, we wanted to give you all, the Segmental Advisory Council, first opportunity to hear from them, and then we'll do follow-up and connections with specific institutions after today's meeting. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Leek, who is the Chief Operating Officer at iMentor, and I believe leading the presentation. So Ms. Leek, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Dow. Good morning, everyone. I know you're super busy, so I very much appreciate you offering us space to talk about what we're working on. And very grateful to Dr. Dow and others for putting us together. I'm on the line with a few of my colleagues, Antieris Johnson, who's based in Baltimore, who does some incredible work on a day-to-day basis with students in that school district. Nariman Heikel, who leads our partnerships. Kayla Williams, who supports us as a project manager on this work. We're thrilled to be here. I want to invite you all as I walk through this presentation quite quickly. If something comes up, something I've said, or you want to probe a bit deeper, please feel free to put something in the chat. I'd love to address it. In a perfect world, there'd be an opportunity for us to go back and forth. You guys are well attended in this group, so there's less space to do so, but I wanted to offer you that opportunity. By background on me, just 2 seconds, I'm Chief Operating Officer by Mentor, but I am a former colleague of yours, so to speak. I spent several years in higher education. I was a trustee at Trinity College in Washington, D.C., a senior advisor to the president of Howard University. Higher ed is in my bones and blood. Before higher ed, I was the vice president of government relations for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Spent a lot of time working on mentoring and making sure mentoring resources went to students in every U.S. congressional district in the country, including Maryland and some of your students. And then I spent time in the technology world before coming back to my first love, which is mentoring. And my hope is that in this presentation and in our work together, I can leverage all of those experiences to benefit your students directly. I know how hard you work on their behalf and your high expectations of them. So let's get into it. iMentor is an organization that's 25, but now we're coming up on 26 years old. And the most important thing for you to know, as Dr. Dow indicated, is that we've been providing mentoring programs to about 42,000 students to date. There's a lot on this slide sharing insight into what we are by the numbers, but I want to call you into the fact that 76% of all of our students successfully enroll in college. That's because we start in high schools and we typically start in school districts that have varying resourcing challenges. And about 15,000 companies are where our mentors hail from. Dr. Dow's talked about us being well networked. We're quite proud of that. We get those folks at those 15,000 companies to volunteer, the time when volunteership is on the decline, and invest in a young person for a year or more. Some of our mentoring relationships have lasted 10 years because we run a program that creates these sticky relationships so that students, in addition to their teachers or faculty or parents, have one other caring adult in their world that they can come to and ask questions when they need to, questions they might not ask us or might want to ask outside of office hours. We are incredibly invested in Maryland. As I mentioned, my colleague Antares on the call here, we've been in the Baltimore region since 2019. And as a part of our practice of making sure that we're the right partner for you all, we don't want to waste your time or your resources. We spent time talking to some of your colleagues, really trying to discover how might we be aligned, what the needs are, and making sure that we are incredibly intentional about how we support you. What we discovered is that your problem is ours. Something to know about iMentor is every day in public schools in New York, Chicago, and Baltimore, and then some partners that we have across the country, we run the program that we're offering to you. So everything that we suggest is something that we have to personally deliver to students and sort of understand whether or not it's working. And the challenges that we have are the same. Whether or not our students, and they are our students, have access to the industry-informed support so that they can think about the context of what they're learning in the classroom and how they might apply it to meet the high potential futures that you design and intend for them. Well, how do we do this? For us, we believe a trained and screened mentor is the key to that. Most of our partners, in fact, all of our partners, we walk them through training and making sure that the mentors and matching mentors comes from the benefit of our 25 years of experience. Training sort of makes the mentor a paraprofessional. They provide the additional supports that you think about in your campus career services organizations or even student success organizations. We work really diligently to tailor our training to make sure it does that well. And we leverage technology. The idea being that busy mentors, especially that are volunteering, and busy students are best informed and guided by entering their glide path, which is technology. And at a later date or in a one-to-one fashion, we'll take you through the platform that we built together. Deeper down, iMentor really offers 3 things to drive at these challenges or drive at the problem that we discussed. A platform, that's our technology, that's designed specifically for mentoring and making sure that mentoring experiences are what they could and should be. content and curriculum, both for the mentor and the mentee. A lot of students, especially in their first year, don't know how to leverage the power of a partnership that you've put together. How do I get this professional to talk to me? What do I even say? And the same exists on the mentor side. And we want to make sure that the relationship kicks off really well and becomes something that's a powerful unlock for our students. And we guide that process quite specifically. And the last is sort of how we help you make sure this works really well. And, you know, what I know from my days in higher ed, and you all know intimately, is that on a college campus, a number of us will reach out to corporate partners to get them to prioritize our program or come speak to our students. We all are kind of grabbing at what could be out there. What I mentor is really good at is we've kind of cracked the code for getting corporations to be excited about partnering with us, excited about getting their team members to invest their time with our program. This is a coaching moment for us. We teach a lot of our higher ed partners how not just to build the first relationship, but how to make it lasting on the campus, and so that the work that you do on the front end can last for years over the engagement. It's an incredible unlock for a lot of our partners, especially those who are thinking about specific industries. For our purposes, as Dr. Dow mentioned before, in our discovery process, we learned that cybersecurity is a priority for you. That means a lot to us because, and I'll talk about this, about our ambition and why we do this work, and particularly why we're interested in higher ed. We reached out to our corporate partnership team and said, look, cybersecurity is really important for our folks in Maryland. Who do we know that could be really motivated by this work? And these are some of the larger Fortune 10 companies that are also motivated by connecting with students that have that interest and commitment to exploring careers in this area. These are folks that are based in and around Maryland, so there's some connection that's quite local. Even though our platform allows mentoring to happen from a distance, we wanted to make sure that that was an opportunity and an option for folks, and just want to give you a sense of who's out there. You'll know other companies, and we can coach you through managing those relationships as well. Wanted to make sure that as I come to a conclusion here, that you have a sense of where we've done this work. I know for us in higher ed, we don't love a ton of experiments with our kids, especially when they have this very sensitive short time with us. We are based where the flags are. So that's where we deliver programming inside schools, Baltimore, Chicago, and New York. And we do it every afternoon, as I mentioned, in high schools. We partner with programs that mentor across the country. These are some of the cities that we're based in. And then we work with higher education institutions in a formal partnership, like we're talking about amongst this group, and in many respects in a multi-campus environment, which adds a layer of complexity, but we believe we've mastered it incredibly well. The context of getting students from high school to successfully land in college and then successfully complete year one or year two, which is what we're specifically focused on, is different in all of these communities. And so the reason why we wanted to elevate this is to give you a sense of a process that's tried and true. We've done this with the California system and the New York system and in Chicago because we're super committed. You might be asking yourself, well, why do all this work? It's incredibly difficult when you're doing it on your own. We have a personal goal that we've set amongst ourselves and with our board. Currently, we serve about 7,800 mentoring relationships. We want to get to 10,000. Getting to scale and driving mentoring relationships, especially for first-gen students, we've seen it, as you saw on that earlier slide, unlock career opportunities, transform the economic chances for our students, and we want to get quality mentoring experiences to as many students as possible. And so part and parcel of that ambition is talking to you all and connecting with your students to help us reach that impact goal. It's important for you to know that iMentor is a nonprofit, and at the core of what we do is mission-based. I would love to talk to you about it a little bit more, even give you exposure to our platform and see the technology that we've been building for a little bit here, and chat with you a bit more about how we can support you and your goals. Thank you all for making time for us to share more about what we're working on, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Great, thank you. I just want to open it up for any quick questions. We will share this slide deck with you all so that you have access to it. And like I said, we're probably going to do some targeted outreach to some specific schools over the next few months. As segmental leaders, we'll certainly include you in those communications as we move forward. And but if there's any questions for the iMentor team, now's the time. Otherwise, you can certainly chat with them offline. Dr. Phillips.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, and it's an incredible goal and mission that you have and the work that you're doing. I have a question around the industry partners that you have. I saw you had a list from a lot of employers in Baltimore area, and I'm just curious. Like, for example, Morgan Stanley was on there, and we were talking about cybersecurity. And I would love to have some type of arrangement around sort of financial institutions and things like that around cyber. But when I talk to the people at Morgan Stanley, they're really only ever interested in hiring people with a 4-year degree. I represent community colleges. So how could an iMentorship work with industry partners that really may not necessarily have the right type of framework when it comes to the skills that they need for employees, just out of curiosity?
I think that's a great question. I don't have all the answers, but I do have some insight on how this can work. For us, we have an intimate relationship with Morgan Stanley. And what I find unique from other places that I've run mentoring programs is that a mentor is in both a posture of offering an opportunity for those employees to engage, also coaching those leaders on how to think about the talent pipeline. We have the benefit of having the head of, I think the title is talent. I'm trying to think, Nariman, who's on the RAB for New York.
She's the head of global talent, global head of the talent acquisition or something like that. Yeah.
Right. So we have those folks on our regional board, not even our national board, and are in constant conversations about the needs of our students and what it takes to, like, sort of what they offer, even in 2-year degree programs. One of the programs that we have as partners on that list is a 2-year degree program. I imagine a world in which we can have a direct conversation with her about your students and advocate on their behalf. I will tell you, it's not a big reach because she trusts iMentor's position about what our young people need and what they are capable of. She mentors in our program, makes a financial investment on an annualized basis to iMentor. And as a result, we're sort of in this conversation frequently about how to enhance the talent pipeline and move them forward. I don't know what it's going to take to actually convince her, but I'm indicating that what we've done, which is a little different, even with Boys and Girls Clubs of America, is develop this really close partnership where we understand each other and it's easier for us to advocate on behalf of our students. I want, and our CEO wants every student, especially students at 2-year institutions, because they are a priority for us, to have the opportunities that we're talking about. You can count on us to be an advocate to them directly about your students because they are a very, very important feature to the work that we do.
If I may add some context to that, Dr. Phillips, we are in the business of building purpose-driven, trusting relationships. And so with our corporate partners, we talked about the social capital that we have across industries across the country. It is a lot easier to ask for, it's harder to ask for 100 internships, much easier to ask for 100 volunteers that would support our students in building their social capital and helping to open the doors for them around different levels of career exposure. And we find in our launch year, we have piloted with mostly community colleges. And we are finding that making those links for students through the expertise of the industry mentors that they're connected with are serving very, very helpful in terms of opening up opportunities and helping them to build their network within their chosen major. And that's been really, really helpful, especially with Morgan Stanley at the helm.
Our success really helps them give a use case to changing standards inside their companies. That's the main idea.
That's wonderful news. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, agreed.
So thank you, iMentor's great presentation, and I can tell you our students can benefit from this mentorship, much needed. All institutions, students at all our institutions can benefit from this. But as you know, mentoring always has an equity issue. Students who need more support, they often get less support. It's an unfortunate situation. I saw a research where there was a Ivy League school. I won't give a name. One student had 5 advisors, mentors supporting one student, and a community college just 5 miles away, one advisor had 276 students. So I think this is a great work that you're doing. We really commend you. And I'm going to ask all segmental leaders, make sure you get connected with iMentors, make sure that our students fully benefit from this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Back to you, Dr. Dow.
I'm going to send it back over to Secretary Rai. Thank you, iMentor team.
Thank you. Now we will move to federal policy update. Deputy Secretary Elena Quiroz-Livanis, and she has 3 items. She will talk first about federal policy update, then FEDS to Ed program, then update on a state plan for higher education. Deputy Secretary, are you here?
Hi, buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Dr. Dow, for inviting our colleagues from iMentor. Really exciting presentation. I don't know if April is officially mentoring month or if mentoring month just passed, but I know that the power of mentorship is incredibly important, particularly as we talk about improving the outcomes for all of our learners here in Maryland. So transitioning to federal policy, we wanted to have a conversation with the Segmental Advisory Council on a few things. One is just an update, which is we have started convening on a bi-weekly basis a small group of presidents, following up on a briefing that we held at the beginning of the year regarding changes at the federal administration. That group is scheduled to connect tomorrow, and we will be sure to continue the conversation there as well. But the item that we wanted to elevate for today is around international students. And we did want to open up the floor for our colleagues to see if there was any information that you would be able to share with us today, and if not today, tomorrow, regarding international student visa revocations. We understand that this is a phenomenon that's happening across the country, and just wanted to have a better sense of the impact here in Maryland. We have some data that we have seen in the newspapers, but again, just wanted to provide a space for conversation here. There haven't been any recent executive orders from the administration in the past couple of weeks, but we do anticipate a few that might come out this week, in particular one related to the public service loan forgiveness program. And so we will be having an internal conversation here at MHEC in preparation for that. There's also been some discussions around accreditation and moving that in a different direction. We are monitoring that conversation, but again, haven't seen any actions in that regard. So those are the major federal policy updates, but did want to open up the floor to any of the members to see if there were updates regarding international students and any differences in experiences that they might be having on campus. So I'll open up the floor to our advisors. Go ahead. Thanks for raising your hand.
Hi, oh, are you talking to me? Okay, good. I'll just report out from Morgan State. We did have a visa revocation that happened last week. One student who was a PhD student had his visa revoked. Our international office has been very diligent in terms of looking through the CVIS records on a regular basis to try to make sure that all the visas are updated and that students are reporting in. And I was basically told by Dr. Ostaki, who is our VP for that area, that they they usually see categories of why that the visas are revoked. And the one, for this one, it had other as a category, and it turns out that the student had acquired a criminal activity while here. And so that was why the visa was revoked. And the student is at the dissertation stage, so they are able to complete, and I'm going to say alleged, because I don't know if they've been tried or anything. So alleged criminal activity. And so the student is at the doctoral dissertation stage, and so would be able to complete, as far as we're concerned, remotely with his advisor in terms of completing his dissertation. But there was no activity on campus. It just was, this was in the database, and the student, they have reached out and talked with the student as far as from Morgan's point of view, from our point of view. Any specific questions that I might be able to answer?
No, thank you, Dr. Keys. I appreciate the update. I appreciate the nuance on the alleged, and I appreciate that the student will be able to finish in their dissertation and defend remotely as well. This is perfect. Thank you. Not perfect news, but the data was good. Doctor, I want to say, is it Caracao? How do I want to pronounce it correctly. How do I pronounce your last name, Candace? And we might have just lost her, and it might have been my inability to pronounce her last name, which I apologize, but I want to make sure that I'm getting it. How do I say it?
Carico rhymes with Jericho.
Carico, okay. Carico. I totally gave it a different flavor. Go ahead, Dr.
Candace
Carico.
works fine. Yeah. So, I mean, the revocations we have are in the newspaper. There's nothing more, but I think it might be worth saying, and I see Zaki is here, so she may want to chime in, but I will say we've had a couple of ICE visits to campus. And so our campuses have been communicating with other people on the campus about what to do if ICE arrives. And they're not arriving necessarily in outfits you might recognize as formal gear. And so I was at, I'll just say Coppin. I was at Coppin on Friday, and I noticed in the library there were a couple of posters, what to do if, if you see ICE. And so it's generally, you refer people to the police, and their, counsel will meet with them. And just, I think students are, anxious and would like communication. I think the international officers are working really hard on an individual basis with students to make sure that, they feel safe, they feel welcome, and we're providing assistance as we can. The law schools have clinics who are helping people also.
Thank you. I appreciate the update. And Dr. Keys, you asked if there were any other questions. I think one question that I might just have as a follow-up to this conversation is around admissions and whether or not we're seeing any changes in the internet or applications, right? But just trying to understand that pattern and whether or not we're going to see fewer students from international backgrounds in the fall.
Right now, we do have some information on that, because right now, most of the appointees and the spaces that look at the international students coming in are probably still Biden appointees. So we still have some robust growth in our international attendance. We're up about 50% where we were 5 years ago. So it's like doubled from almost from 5 years ago. And we expect some continued growth, perhaps, unless it's just due to fear. And we haven't seen a drop off yet. But we expect that if there's a lot of changeover in terms of appointees in those spaces, that this might give us some concern later on for our continued ability to allow students to continue if we have a lot of interaction with new appointees with the new administration. So it does concern, we are concerned.
Thank you.
And I would mention that because I forgot to mention before that the president had given guidance to the university when we started the term around the way if we're approached in our offices or in our classroom spaces, that we were to contact our campus officers and let them come and kind of facilitate the situation if that occurred. But I haven't had any incidences of that.
Thank you. Why don't we go to we have Matt Power, then we can do Dr. Phillips and then Dr. Lee. I think that was the order of hands. If not, I apologize. Message me on the side and I can get it right.
Thank you so much. I think similar to Candace, you've read some of the revocations that have happened. I think for the most part, again, similar to Candace, our campuses are really working closely to train faculty and staff to make sure they know how to handle things if ICE does come on campus. In certain parts of the state, I think ICE is working with local law enforcement. Local law enforcement is working with public safety agencies on campus so that there would not be an ICE presence on campus where there to be additional revocations, but it's a little bit case by case, and we're trying to just sort through it and make sure that each institution and the faculty and staff and students are knowledgeable and aware of their rights and the ability of to move forward in the least disruptive way possible.
Thank you. Do you have a ballpark of the revocations across your campuses by any chance?
I don't have a great number for you. We have a board meeting next week, and this is obviously on the agenda. So after that, we certainly will.
That'd be great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dr. Phillips and then Dr. Lee.
Hi, thanks so much for having this on the agenda. And I don't know any more than what you already know, Elena, based on the meeting from what's happening at Maryland community colleges. But I did have a follow-up question because I thought what was a really helpful topic during that meeting was around House Bill 1222 and what the impact of that would be for institutions and how would that play out. And I know you don't know the answers to that per se, and is the legality of that even going to be challenged in federal court? I don't know, but do you have any other information on how that might impact community colleges to providing some sort of private space?
I don't have an update on that, but what we can do, I think our Chief of Staff, Tiffany Majors, is on the call, and she's also probably doing double duty, but so she represents MHEC. Let me actually use this to take a step back to describe how the state is organized. So the state has several working groups depending on the federal policy topic. There's a working group on civil rights. There's a working group on immigration. We meet weekly. The next time the immigration working group meets is on Wednesday, so I can ask my colleague Tiffany Majors to bring this up. Our colleague who presented at that last meeting, Kamal, runs those meetings, or he is in attendance, so we can definitely just kind of make a reminder that we would like some additional guidance on the applicability for public colleges and colleges and universities in Maryland, given that the safe space designation no longer applies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Hi, there you are. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you so much. I apologize. I was doing double duty, responding to an email, so I missed the question. I did get the end of it. So, Mr. Phillips, Kamal will be presenting during our commission meeting this Wednesday. But if you can send me that question again, I can either answer it for you or get that information for you.
Will do.
Thank you. And just a preview that we will have Kamal at our Wednesday commission meeting, kind of giving an overview of the lay of the land and talking about that bill. So if we can actually maybe get that question to him ahead of time, perhaps he can answer it live at the commission meeting. So thank you, Dr. Phillips. Dr. Lee.
Good morning, everyone. I'm with Candace at the University System of Maryland, Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. It's good to see you. I want to add a couple of points here. One, we know that a couple of our institutions have had SEVIS records terminated. Small difference between visas being revoked and SEVIS records being terminated. So I want to make that point. But what we're finding is that, or anticipating, is that our institutions will need assistance, or the students will need assistance. So I don't know if MHEC or the Office of the Attorney General has in mind resources, attorneys that students could go to. I think although we do have institutions that are doing a great job, as Dr. Keys has said, and everyone has said, international student services officers are doing what they can. But if with less than 10 in USM right now, we're feeling folks saying, we're probably going to need some assistance here. If the volume grows, we have issues. And so if there are some resources, pro bono services that students could use, or that we can have institutions direct students to, that's going to help everyone immensely. So I want to put that out there for consideration. Also, Chancellor Perman met with our USM Student Council a couple of weeks ago, and we heard from students with green cards and students who were born here but have, let's say, international sounding names. They're scared too. They are walking around with passports that they've never had to carry. They're carrying their green cards because they want to be able to pull those out if ICE pops up on campus and challenges them. So we have multiple layers of issues here. And I know everyone on the screen knows that all of this ultimately affects student success. The students are panicking and nervous and just kind of on edge. And so we pull in the mental health concerns and all of that, but it's not just the students who are getting their records terminated and their visas revoked. We have several layers of students that we are paying attention to and need to make sure that they're all on the radar. And then regarding attendance or enrollment, and Candace is a lot more clued in here. We think our numbers for the fall are fine. We're worried about upcoming years. And so the projections have been made for the fall, and we think, Candace, I see you nodding, we feel okay for fall. But Candace?
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. I mean, we're checking
Yeah.
constantly, and things change so rapidly. I mean, August feels like a millennium from now in some ways. So hard to say. You know, I think we'll know more, you know, midsummer once, you know, are people confirming. And I have a lot of concerns about the following year. I have a lot of concerns about students not doing the FAFSA if they have a parent without a social security number. And so one of the questions I have about students who are in the state, you know, can they get, I should know the answer to this, you know, can they get state aid without doing a FAFSA? You know, you can do the one app if you're not eligible to do the FAFSA, but can you just use the one app if you could do a FAFSA, but are afraid to reveal that your parents don't have a social security number? And there are a lot of questions like that.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, and Dr. Carrico. This is helpful. A few things. I know that our Assistant Attorney General, Kimberly Ward, is here, and she meets regularly with her counterparts across the AAG, so we can certainly bring that back to see what is available or what might not be available, but just to have that answer kind of clear. You know that the Attorney General Brown has just been doing a lot for our state. The other thing that I did want to recognize is your comment on student success and the fact that there is now potentially a culture of fear on campuses, and just what that means, particularly as we go into the end of the semester and folks are preparing for finals. And just on a personal note, as a U.S. citizen born in Honduras, I completely understand how many of our students are feeling, and this is personal. Like, I have no problem admitting my positionality around this topic. So I said your name, AAG Ward, so I do want to let you chime in, and then Dr. Phillips, I'll turn the mic to you.
Mine is just really brief. It's mainly more so for Dr. Lee. I did put the AAG's site in the chat, and maybe you can provide that to your students. It does, we have a federal response page, and on that page is a link to immigration, and it talks about resources and various different things that they may find helpful. It also has legal representation that may be helpful to them, that is free, and other types of resources. So that might be something that could be passed along that might be helpful.
Thank you very much.
And other types of, you know, questions they may have, so they may find that helpful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. RAG is on it here in the state of Maryland. We're very lucky. Dr. Wright, you've come off mute. Go ahead. And then Dr.
No, I think let's have Dr. Phillips, then we will move on to the next agenda item given the time. To Dr. Phillips, go ahead.
I'll be really brief, but Zakia brought up a very good point about resources and actually legal advice and counsel. You know, community colleges, we don't have an AG. System has an AG. We have some legal people that work at a few colleges, but I can't go to the AG's office because he serves only state agencies. We have to go through you all at MHEC when we have some legal issues. So Kimberly Ward, when things come up, I'd love to be able to bounce them off to you. And then I think you would work directly with the AG's office, but I just want to make sure I understand the right practice and protocol I'm supposed to follow, because I know a number of issues have come up. The Attorney General is literally right through the wall next door to where I am, but he can't help me. So I'm going to try to funnel everything to you. Is that the acceptable path I should take?
I'm wondering if, and Kimberly, you were probably coming off mute. I think one, I might offer just a slight, which it could be through our office and then to Kimberly, just to maintain the client relationship, if that makes sense. Kimberly, go ahead. But I think that modification would probably be more.
That's probably the best way to do it.
I would definitely have you, Elena, and Mr. Secretary. I would go through you. That would be great.
Yeah, so let me just wrap this up. First of all, very, very thankful to all institutions. Dr. Key, I was very happy to hear that you're helping a student finish his or her dissertation. And Dr. Carrico, what I heard from you, how USM is helping, Dr. Lee, the same thing. It's very, very important. Legal respite and other things are okay. But the students who are not directly in these kind of problems, they're also worried, right? So having some kind of supporting environment on campus, sometimes just coffee and donuts helps. You know, your international student offices, having some event, something to support, I think that's important. I know faculty go to extra lengths to support these students. I came as an international student, many of you know this. You know, I found a very supportive environment on my campuses wherever I went. And just so that you know, I'm carrying my passport because, you know, you can get passport these days, right? And I asked my daughter to carry hers. She was on a campus and kids can get excited, right? Not to argue with ICE when they are on campus because, you know, anything small can become big. And when you look at these students, by and large, they came here to study, they have paid their tuitions, and sometimes 2 or 3 times more. The kind of tariff is already there for them, right? So this philosophy of tariff, they're already there. They've been doing it for years. And if you think about this as a business or revenue, for us in Maryland, there are 22,000 students, international students. That's over $900 million impact right there. So, and if you look at United States as a country, the amount of higher education revenue that comes from international students is more than the total energy, coal, oil, and gas that we sell. So from business point of view, also, it doesn't make sense, right? So, and students whose visas are revoked, I looked at several cases that I could find. Many of them are misdemeanors, speeding tickets. Is there anyone here who didn't get a speeding ticket in your life, right? And you forgot to pay, right? If you're in Virginia, speeding is a criminal offense, right? Parking tickets, right? Small misdemeanors. So students, their visas are being revoked for those reasons. And because of this, as Candace said, not this year, following year, we will see impact in our enrollment. Indian Embassy told me that in India, US Embassy has so far given 30% less visa appointments. So I don't know what it means, but students, the highest number of students who come from certain parts of the world, and Canada, Australia, England, are not only recruiting, they're giving them a speedy path to their green card and their citizenship. Think about that. International students who are graduating this semester, already companies from England and Australia are coming here on our campuses, recruiting them. Many of these students are in STEM areas that are very important for our economy. Computer science, electrical engineering are two very important areas for our economy. 80% of the graduate students in these areas are international students. Think about what it means. So if you look at business point of view, revenue point of view, economic competitiveness point of view, this makes no sense, right? So anything we can do to help, certainly providing legal help is important. Some students who can afford $8,000 for one small legal help are able to get their status revoked. So, anything we can do to provide that kind of help collectively will be important. Emotional support on campuses, I think, will be very, very important. And the students who are in this unfortunate situation, we have to find every possible way so they can complete their degrees. So thank you very much. This conversation, unfortunately, will be around. So it will be around, and we will have to do our best to help these students. So Deputy Secretary, let's move on the second item, which is also equally important, FEDS to EDS.
Sure, and I wasn't even sure where to. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Part of me wanted to reorder the agenda to talk about the state plan because there was a somewhat sophisticated way to make the case to talk about how this is a good time to position ourselves for the future. And I just have to say, hearing you talk, we are very lucky to have you as our SHIO, just given your experience, your lived experience, and what you represent. So thank you for making that connection and being able to talk about the power of higher education, not only in transforming individual lives, but our state's economy. So thank you. FEDS to EDS is the next item on the agenda. So that is a nickname to the program that we have we've been working on with the Maryland State Department of Education, the Department of Labor, and the Governor's Office of Children. I spoke briefly about this initiative at our last commission meeting, and we just wanted to provide a short update. As you might recall, at the end of February, in response to the thousands of federal workers who were losing their jobs, Governor Moore announced a 5-pronged plan in an effort to support those folks who are now displaced. One of those prongs was recruiting federal workers who have lost their jobs into Maryland classrooms. And so we released a report with recommendations that was due on the 45-day mark, which happened to be last Monday, April 14th. Once we get clearance, we will go ahead and share that report and the recommendations with folks, but it's still with the governor's office under review. To give you a preview of what was included in that report, we wanted to highlight data regarding where there were high concentrations of federal workers who had lost their jobs, identify locations where we had high percentages of teachers with conditional licenses, and then also identify districts that had high vacancy rates. And so we will be working with individual institutions as well as segments to either stand up new alternative teacher preparation programs or create new ones. But I just want to thank everyone for their interest in their partnership in this work. Earlier in the month, we also released a $1 million Teacher Quality and Diversity Grant Program RFP. I recognize that the turnaround for that was quite tight. It was a little less than a month. Those applications are due at the end of this week. I am still answering technical assistance questions, so if your institution is interested in submitting and we have a ton of interest, please do send those questions forward and we'll make sure to answer them in short order. our goal is to see as many federal workers who are interested in changing their careers and entering into the classroom be placed into programs this spring. And so I do want to recognize that there are a number of institutions that have been able to stand up new cohorts for this summer, which is incredibly great. And their goal will be to recruit some of these federal workers and support them transition in the summer so that they can land in the classroom in the fall. But that is my elevator pitch of feds to eds. And I do just want to give a shout out to my sister agencies because they have been incredible partners in this space. And again, the institutions have been more than responsive. A point of privilege that I know I've been talking about teachers, but we've also been just in the spaces that we have been in talking about the amazing work that the institutions have been doing outside of just recruiting federal workers. So I know several community colleges or regional state universities, some of our USM campuses have had job fairs as well, and are just doing a lot of work to connect federal workers to other opportunities here in the state. It's not just limited to education. Secretary Rye, I know you've gone to a couple of those events over the past few weeks, but just want to once again elevate the role of our institutions. It's not just in meeting this one very specific request from the governor, but it's much broader than that given the public mission that we have. Are there any questions around the Feds to Eds program or the RFP that went out earlier this month?
Again,
Secretary Ryan.
I will strongly encourage that take advantage of this grant opportunity. The application process is not as involved as I can see it, but if you have questions, if you need support, we are happy to do that. But, teaching, finding teachers has always been challenging. But now, unfortunately, but so many people have lost their jobs. And these are scientists with PhD at National Cancer Institute, NASA, NIH, FDA. This is our opportunity to bring content experts in our classrooms. Imagine a PhD in chemistry teaching high school chemistry. Think about that, right? A master's in physics teaching middle school physics or middle school science. So while it's very unfortunate, but this is an opportunity, and especially for higher education, for all of us as a segment, to see how we can come forward and support federal workers. At the same time, all these students who can get really, really high quality teaching by an expert in the field with a lot of life experiences, lot of professional experiences. We have to excite new generation about science. You see all the NIH internships are canceled this year. Think about that. All of them. NIH has a lot of other agencies have canceled. So, we have to, this is almost like a Sputnik moment for us. We can't step back. So let's put these highly qualified people in our classrooms. And MSD has come forward. They're relaxing a lot of things, and we can do the same thing. Thank you very much. Candace, your hand was up.
I might be getting ahead of the agenda. I was just thinking about the accreditation comment that you made earlier, that there could be some movement on accreditation. And I think it was, it was a few weeks ago, I think it was at the Higher Learning Commission meeting, and the head of the Higher Learning Commission stood up and she had some advice for people sticking together, and sort of like the Harvard discussion earlier in the week. And, I just think it's something for us to consider when we start talking about accreditation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. To your point, Dr. Carrico, I am moved by what I am seeing in the Big Ten. And I think there's some interesting models around like faculty senates coming together. And I say that as a Florida Gator, but I'm okay with, giving credit to other segments if it means that they're leading the way. And I'm also happy to talk to you offline around some of the conversations that the SHIOs have been having, because we do meet weekly. So I would say, I think on behalf of MHEC, that we probably couldn't agree more as we think about our state, that compact and unity would probably be our best defense moving forward. Which is a really good segue. I will use anything as a segue to my final item on the state plan for higher education, knowing that we have quite a bit on our agenda. So I just have 2 slides to help guide a brief update. Again, just want to thank everyone for their work and their partnership. As you know, our state plan for higher education, yes, I did it. I figured it out on how to share my slides. Hopefully you can see my slides on Google Meet. Okay, great. We have been working on the state plan for higher education. The last plan is coming to a close. So we just wanted to share with you our latest thinking as we proceed. As you've noticed, we have been providing regular updates to the commission, and so we would like to make this a standing item during this meeting to make sure that we are getting your input and feedback as we move forward with the planning and development of the state plan. We are going to be returning to statute. So the origins of the state plan basically require that the state plan include these 3 important elements, and this is how we'll be organizing our work moving forward. We're required to talk about the present and future needs for post-secondary education and research. Obviously, that couldn't come at a more critical time. For those of you who have recently, or if you haven't gone onto the harvard.edu page, they have totally changed their homepage. And now it just talks about how they have translated the knowledge that is generated into practical research and how that is saving lives. And so I think we have an opportunity to talk about the work that we do here in Maryland in a similar vein. We also have to talk about the present and future capabilities of our institutions and the segments of higher education. I think here, Dr. Kiriko, to your point, we would like to talk about the system of higher education and the power we have as a whole here in the state of Maryland. And then finally, we also have to talk about the long and short range objectives and priorities for the system of higher education and how we're going to achieve those. And so you've heard us talk about wanting to update things like the performance accountability reporting structure and just make sure that we have an accountability system that is actually creating conditions for our institutions to do the work that we elevate in the state plan. How are we going to do this? We're going to do this with a ton of external engagement. So several of you have probably already received invitations, and if you haven't already, we're going to be taking the next few months to have one-on-one conversations with partners from across the state. That includes institutional leaders. We'll be meeting with advocacy organizations, industry, state agency partners, and so that scheduling has already begun, and I want to recognize Dr. Dow and Alex Wen for their partnership and leadership in that space. And so that'll be incredibly important. And as we get input from folks around the questions that you see in the first slide, we're going to be conducting those meetings over the next few months and hope to have them wrapped up by the end of the fiscal year. That'll be incredibly important input for us as we determine how do folks perceive higher education here in the state of Maryland. What are their needs, and we'll try to reconcile that over the course of the summer. And then we're also going to have a steering committee. This steering committee is going to be, it's a pivot from what we have done in the past here in the state of Maryland, and we're really excited to move in this direction. The steering committee will have representatives from all segments of higher education, but we'll also have representatives, again, from industry, labor, other state agencies. And the point here is to really hone in on the word Maryland State Plan for Higher Education, or all of those words all together. So while we want to have higher education represented, we also want other folks to feel ownership of this plan and help us achieve it. The timeline for this work, if you read the statute, it's not due until July 2026. And so I think this is where we would deviate from that just a little bit. There is an eagerness to have this adopted as soon as feasible. I'm sure you've heard our commissioners say that. So we are working towards a December adoption. Given all of the work that has happened since last summer, the Student Success Summit in November, and the work that we continue to do, we feel like this is a feasible timeline, but we know that we can't do it without your partnership. So partnership leads to progress, if I quote my governor. And so that is what we are going for with the state plan for higher education. Again, this is just the initial update. We would hope to make this a standing item with more substantive conversation, but did just want to give you a preview of the way that we anticipate organizing ourselves for the next few months. So that, Dr. Rai, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. Again, again, an important work. I want to emphasize that this will be our plan. Everyone should be able, all stakeholders, all institutions of higher education should be able to see themselves in this plan. So I think that will be important. Nothing we will do will not be data driven. We will be certainly data driven, data today, projected data, because this is the plan for the next 5 years. So, we have to look at present realities and also opportunities that are ahead of us too. So a lot of work is ahead, but let me assure you, we'll all work together. Strong communication. All guidance, all suggestions, and even criticisms are welcome. So that's how we come up with the best possible plan. Now, moving forward, Dr. Dow, you have next 3 agenda items. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. I will also share my screen. So let me start with an update around emergency contraception. 2 bills were passed in different sessions, a bill in 2024 and a bill in 2023. This pertains to our public institutions, requiring different but related expectations around access to contraception, education, and other reproductive health opportunities. So let me just quickly run through the expectation. The bill from 2024 focuses on community colleges, requires each community college, specifically in consultation with students and student organizations, to develop and implement a plan to provide their students with access to over-the-counter contraception through the student health center, retail establishments on campus, vending machines, or any other method that provides students access when on campus. Additionally, there is supposed to be an annual report every September 1st, starting this year, providing an update on the implementation of their plan, how it's going. So that's community colleges. Let me go over to the 4 years. The 4-year bill passed in the 2023 session and requires slightly different things. Public higher education institutions, so everybody under University System of Maryland, Morgan, St. Mary's, in consultation with their students, to develop and implement a reproductive health services plan, or to refer students to a comprehensive range of reproductive health services. The reproductive health services must include everything that you see on your screen: all methods of FDA-approved contraception, prevention and treatment services for sexually transmitted infections, abortion care services, 24 access to over-the-counter contraception, evidence-based reproductive health education services, and certainly a referral network of off-campus reproductive health service providers. There are a couple of exceptions for the public 4 years, and they're kind of our UMGC, I believe, is exempt from this. University of Baltimore is required to do something slightly different. So there is a bit of nuance for the public 4 years. Nonetheless, we've got these 2 bills, and we've been working with Department of Health along with 2 other national organizations who will be able to now provide us with technical assistance. So it is the American Society for Emergency Contraception and Upstream USA. They have been working with Department of Health, and Department of Health brought them to us and said, hey, we're here to help provide technical assistance. So the next steps are, we are going to issue out a survey asking institutions, how is it going? What do you need? So that Upstream and that other national organization can provide an in-person technical assistance training, likely sometime in June. So we are just the conveners. They will be the experts. We will invite all campus personnel. The reason why I want to bring this up to you now is that you're going to see the survey, and I want to reassure you, this is not a gotcha moment. I recognize that we have not talked about these two bills in the Segmental Advisory Council meeting, and I think Department of Health has only been able to provide some guidance in the absence of these two national organizations. The purpose of this survey is just to get baseline information so that they can tailor this in-person technical assistance event and provide support to the campuses. So we do ask that campuses respond. We'll send this survey out this week. For the MICUA institutions, they are of course invited to participate, clearly not required. So MICUA, you will get the survey, to the extent that campuses want to respond and provide input, that would be great. Once we set a date, of course, you're invited to participate as well. Questions on emergency contraception and what is forthcoming? Dr. Phillips.
Yeah, I know this will be a refresher for some of my colleges who probably forgot this was to be implemented in September 1st of this year. But for some of my colleges, I think they've probably already been doing this all along. And so this isn't a big deal. And more the question will be, how are you going to collect what they're doing in September? I guess the report goes to you. So are you going to have guidance on exactly what you want? Okay. And I assume they can expect that sometime this summer.
Likely, we'll probably base it off of the survey. So based on the responses from the survey, we'll draft some guiding questions, and it's a report on the implementation. So I do expect it to be, how are you doing it?
All over the place, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All over the place. And that's my understanding as well. Some community colleges are doing great. Some community colleges are still like, wait, what are we supposed to do? So yes, we will provide that guidance, and then we'll discuss it likely at the event to make sure people feel comfortable in responding to the guidance.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Dr. Lee.
Yes, I'm scrolling feverishly through emails because I want to make sure I'm remembering the right issue, so to speak. I think this is the report. Our campuses have been doing it, but there was never a reporting requirement. I don't think there was anything that said this needs to go to thus and so.
Correct. Okay. That is my understanding. The only reporting requirement is for the community colleges.
Okay. So
no reporting requirement for the 4 years.
Okay.
I will say.
This is, we should also not take this as a you've done something wrong moment either. Okay. All right.
Exactly. No, this is just an opportunity. We want to provide, we've got these two national organizations.
Got it.
Ready to provide some technical assistance. We just need to figure out and wrap our heads around what that technical assistance looks like, knowing that there's variability in how campuses have been approaching it.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we have talked about potentially knowing that there are different requirements for the community colleges and the public 4 years. There's a potential that this technical assistance may be divided between like a morning session for community colleges, an afternoon session for the 4 years. So we're trying to balance all of that, but we need feedback from how campuses are doing this. I thought I saw a hand go up, but then I don't see a hand anymore. Okay, so more to come on this emergency contraception survey. We would appreciate feedback, and we look forward. This is exciting to have this kind of technical support, and Department of Health has been a great collaborative partner. We probably have been talking with them for the past 8 months or so on this very issue. So we kind of wanted to wait till the end of the academic year to really get into the weeds of this. Okay, my next update is on transfer. Any other questions on emergency contraception? Yeah, okay, I'll move on to transfer. As many of you know, we have entered into a collaborative project with the Aspen Institute called the Maryland Transfer Intensive. The Aspen Institute has implemented several cohorts of what they are calling a transfer intensive. The transfer intensive, broadly speaking, is an opportunity for two partner schools, a community college and a four-year institution, to partner together, better understand best practices, and develop unique plans for the purposes of supporting transfer and supporting transfer students. Aspen, like I said, has done a couple of cohorts of this transfer intensive, and they approached Maryland and said, you know, we really want to do this statewide. So if you go to Aspen's website and you just Google transfer intensive, you'll see a handful of cohorts and you'll see institutions from across the nation. Again, they have come to Maryland and said, we'd like to do something statewide, knowing that we have done a tremendous amount of work regarding Transfer with Success Act, that we have implemented some very important changes on campuses as campus presidents have been coming together. So they saw this as an opportunity. Let's take advantage of all of that good work and bring the transfer intensive to Maryland. So you might remember at the Student Success Summit, they did a presentation. They invited all the Maryland institutions to participate. We now have 25 institutions participating in this transfer intensive. It is slightly different than their traditional transfer intensive because, again, it is statewide. And so we are in the final stages at this point of figuring out the pairings of the institutions. I think we are in round 3 of the iterations of making sure the pairings are the right pairings, institution matching is appropriate. This is the timeline for the transfer intensive. We're coming up to the end of phase 1. The next full cohort meeting is April 29th, where they're going to provide some important information about prioritizing reforms that advance transfer student success. I want to emphasize that Aspen just recently released their second iteration of the transfer playbook. Again, if you Google it, you can find it. Is a useful tool that talks about best practices and promising practices around supporting transfer students. And that transfer playbook will be woven into the next round of work. Phase 2, as we enter into phase 2, once we've established the partnerships here in Maryland, the expectation is that the partnerships will develop a strategic transfer excellence plan, a STEP. These plans are going to be super unique to the partnerships, depending on the students that they are serving, depending on the resources that each campus has. So we expect some really unique strategic transfer excellence plans as they are developed. And I envision, as I understand it, this phase 2 will have some deviations. Some groups will go off on their own. They'll get specialized consultation support from Aspen. They'll come back to the bigger group and report out. So you can see that work really starts at the beginning of June and goes all the way till the beginning of November. And then the last phase is about implementation and statewide alignment. You'll see on the timeline that this ends in January 2026, but there is
I think
is in January. There is going to be opportunity to continue this work. It's just we don't know quite what that timeline is going to look like, depending on what happens at the end of phase 2. So more to come, but we wanted to provide an update of where we are in our work with Aspen, and exciting that we have 25, both public and private. Shout out to the MICUA institutions for joining us at the table. Pretty exciting that they see this as an opportunity for them as well. I'll stop there. Secretary Rye, I think you may want to add some things.
Yeah, I can add so many things. First of all, let me first add thanks to all our partners. All our 4-year presidents themselves are involved, right? That's very, very good. From private independent to USM system, community colleges, they are directly working. Many of you know that I spent half of my career at a community college and the other half at 4-year institutions. And 4-year institutions was half at an private independent institution. The other half was a big system similar to USM system. So I have seen transfer from both ends. And I'll tell you that we are in a very good situation already, but we have an opportunity to make it better. When I came in this role, one of the very first thing was a conversation with Aspen. Aspen was selecting its states, and we were the first ones to be selected for this work. Because Aspen saw where a state is, they thought that we are the ones who will succeed. So And, we went through several kind of interview process, Dr. Dow and myself. And then the funding comes from Dell Foundation. They also wanted to see aggressive work and work that has database outcomes. So we went through a couple of interviews with them also. So I think I'm very, very happy that Aspen is providing this support to us. But we'll keep moving. I keep hearing about a program in Virginia, Advanced. So I think I want a more advanced program, right? So already, if you look at diets that are forming, so many four-year institutions, so many community colleges are involved. In Virginia, just one George Mason University and maybe 2 or 3 community colleges. So in that way, we are already advancing from the advanced, right? So I think that's very good. We do want to, by November or something, we want these institutional partnerships to be signed. I think that will be good. And advance has some good elements. Always good to copy things that are working, right? They are nationally known. They are quoted everywhere as national best practices. So there are some things, some elements from there that should be in our partnership agreements as well. But these will be a partnership between 2 or 3 community colleges and 1 4-year. And there will be several partnerships like that. So it's very, very promising. It's good work. I'm really excited about it. And let's make sure that we have these agreements ready by November. Thank you again. And you have your presidents already working. So please make sure to thank them and keep encouraging them to participate and advance this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Rye. Are there any other questions, comments, thoughts on our
So I will say one thing, which is not really a transfer issue. And it keeps coming up every year. And this year it came up a lot during our presentations at Senate and House during the budget presentation. And this was about cybersecurity transferability. So students from certain community colleges from cybersecurity, they are not able to transfer to 4-year schools. And when I look at it, I think we have been solving a wrong problem all these years. We have a 2-year program very designed for certain skills for cybersecurity in industries. That's very important, right? 4-year programs are also designed, and they are also very, very good with certain skills for cyber industry. But these 2 programs are so different that transfer cannot happen. We have to accept that because, AAS program at community colleges, your general education framework itself is different. Here at 4-year, they are tracked from computer science. Means students are taking physics, calculus, all that good stuff, right? So this cannot happen. So we have to go back and think about how do we create a 4-year transferable degree whose foundation comes from the first 2 years. And 3rd and 4th year are designed, and that program should be available statewide. And how we do that, we have to figure that out. This has happened before because biotechnology, when I was at another institution, we had a program, 2-year program that served industries, but those students could not transfer anywhere. UMBC worked with industry and Montgomery College, and they created the 3rd and 4th year translational life sciences technology degree, TLST. You can Google, you'll find that. I think that is a good way to start that conversation. So we are very much interested in hearing from you how to advance this. But given the already, there's a need for it. But General Assembly asks a lot of questions about cybersecurity transfer issues. And then sometimes I worry that cybersecurity transfer problem can be, sometimes people start thinking we have transfer problem everywhere, which is not true, right? But we have to solve the cybersecurity problem as well. Candice, go ahead.
This occupies a lot of my time these days. So I'll just say one thing I've learned in my time kind of returning to statewide discussion is that I used to feel that there was more clarity in more places about the difference between an AAS and a transfer-oriented associate degree. So that's the first principle. The other one is, we have had BTPS programs before that were designed, to be seamless 2+2s. Students aren't terribly interested. They tend not to gain enrollment. But many of our four-year institutions, independent and public, will accept all or most of the credits from a 60-credit AAS. They are not all going into the major, but it also doesn't mean you necessarily need 90 more credits to graduate. It depends on the institution. It depends on the degree. Mission of the institution is going to be one thing. So I think there are two ways of going at this particular cyber problem. One is students are going to take different pathways, and I've had many conversations this year with the community college cyber and computer science affinity group chairs. We had a meeting Friday with a group of 4 years from the system to look at like a transfer package, because we're trying to get ahead of this Baltimore cyber range experience. And, it's not going to be super neat. It's not like an AS, to your point, and we've met with some individuals, some presidents, et cetera. And I heard, for example, the Hagerstown Community College president say, the AS, no problem. They take calculus, they go where they want. But it's the AAS students, because those are aligned to P-TECH programs. So we're also talking to MSDE, because students need to know when they go into a P-TECH program, it's a particular pathway. That doesn't mean you can't get over here, but it's a less direct route. And so we need to all kind of be careful to make sure students understand at the beginning of their routes kind of where they lead most directly. So then we can kind of tweak around the edges, but there are also schools working on articulations. Like I know Frostburg has been approved. I don't know if it's through MHEC yet, but it's been approved by the Board of Regents to offer an applied computer science program at the University System of Maryland at Hagerstown. They already have an articulation with Hagerstown Community College and some others in certain programs. I don't know that it's articulated at this point in time to the AAS and cyber, but I think there are different ways to do that. It's harder, I think, to say we have one solution statewide at the 4-year, because we don't have one AAS at the 2-year level. There are a lot of similarities, but they're not exactly the same, and they don't necessarily want to be exactly the same. So in some ways, I think the Aspen Institute is good because it looks at the regional partnerships and they're kind of serving the same needs. So kind of distinctions around in certain AAS programs might best have their kind of local direct path. So just that's where we're going anyway right now.
Very encouraging to hear that. But AAS degrees in cybersecurity across community colleges, they are all mapped with this Center for Cyber Excellence, and they are mapped with NSA and Department of Homeland Security. So all AAS cybersecurity degrees are pretty much same across the state. So, and they have, this main transferability challenge. And those students are too far from a typical computer science degree. So try to make that transfer happen, even if you accept all the credits. I have not even done a pre-calculus, right? So I think that Virginia solution, where they have this Bachelor of Applied Studies from George Mason. So AAS degrees into that kind of thing, we have to think about innovatively how to get there. Again, I think this is a conversation that we need to learn from these regional conversations, but statewide, because we have about 3,000 students in these programs. They are AAS students, but they are also looking for a 4-year degree. So how do we make it happen? I'm a mathematician, so I like to look at well-posed problems, right? When I look at the cyber issue, it's ill-posed problem. It has no solution within the constraint of both sides. So I think, making sure that the students do not have to take too many freshman, sophomore classes, and they build on this skills, A lot of these cybersecurity programs provide entry-level skills. So how do you go from entry-level to more advanced level skills, especially looking at AI and how AI will impact some of the entry-level jobs. So looking at all that, we have to bring business, industry, everyone at the table and see how to move this statewide conversation. Dr. Dow, thank you. You can go to the next topic.
Great, thank you. I also put in the chat, there was a recent report released. TEDCO was charged, I believe, by the General Assembly to do a report on the cybersecurity field and industry needs. So the link to that report, I just put it in the chat for everybody's situational awareness. Okay, my final update, I'm pleased to share that we submitted our 2024 to 27 Blueprint Implementation Plan. We submitted it to AIB last August. We received feedback in November. We spent January and February and a little bit of, January and February, because I think we resubmitted it in February, doing some edits and some back and forth with AIB to make sure it met their expectations. They put it before their board for approval in March, and the board approved it. So yay, we have an approved 2024 to 27 Blueprint Implementation Plan. Now we actually have to implement it. So some things to look forward to. You've already heard from our Deputy Secretary about Feds to Eds. While it is certainly a contemporary initiative, it aligns very well with thinking through alternative pathways into the teaching profession to not only diversify, but to expand it. There are some other initiatives that are happening. Again, our Deputy Secretary highlighted the Teacher Quality Diversity Grant that went out to, again, ensure that we're providing campuses some dedicated funding to expand that work. Some immediate things that will be coming down the pipeline around Blueprint implementation. I've categorized them kind of into three large buckets. What I would call an impact analysis or drafting an impact analysis. So students who are participating in the teacher development and retention program, we want to understand, is that working? Is that policy working? Is it doing what we think it's trying to do? We want to make sure we keep tabs on the dual enrollment payment policy that MSDE last year issued around how many courses are covered under Blueprint funding. So want to keep tabs on that. And then certainly keep tabs on MSDE's college and career readiness standards that are currently being redrafted and are out for circulation. So it's kind of an ongoing consideration for these three topics and really making sure that the policies that we are putting forth are doing what we think that they are doing. So this isn't necessarily research with an R, with a big R, though that could absolutely play a role, and we'll continue to work with our colleagues at MLDS and around the state who are doing kind of long and formal research projects, but this is also kind of constant conversations with the practitioners on the ground, with students, and understanding impact. So impact of those policies and ultimately making adjustments as we need to. Second, certainly expanding our communication and awareness around specific scholarships for the teaching profession, as well as our loan assistant repayment plans. And then communication and awareness with specific groups, not only students, but we're realizing, again, through our Deputy Secretary's work, that LEAs and unions are, I think you all know this, but we need to level this up. LEAs and unions are key players. So making that communication and awareness and outreach, a bit more targeted and a bit more distinct. And then finally, as I had opened up, just expanding the teacher workforce pipeline. This includes evaluating, considering, expanding the AAT pathways, thinking through alternative pathways as we talk about the Feds to Eds opportunity, and then certainly apprenticeship pathways. And this is not just talking about it. This is doing specific work. So the whole feds to eds and expanding those opportunities is that work. MSDE drafted guidance around how to do a teacher apprenticeship in collaboration with labor, and we got to weigh in on that apprenticeship guidance and what that would look like. So that apprenticeship guidance, I believe, is live now, and thinking through apprenticeship pathways. And then also with the teacher workforce pipeline, there is a carve out because early childhood educators are kind of in a separate pool and a separate bucket than traditional K through 12 educators. So making sure we continue to have that focus on early childhood educators and expanding the pathways and making sure that our colleges and universities are providing the appropriate post-secondary education opportunities to enter into that field and move up into a career ladder within early childhood education. So more to come. Wanted to give you a summary of what our blueprint implementation plan states. This is admittedly far more of an MHEC plan than necessarily a full who's doing what. There are specific expectations for our agency, but that is not to say that we cannot do this alone. This is a collaborative effort. So as we engage with institutions, with MSDE, with our research partners and the like, know that we are working we're trying to work in step with everybody and ensure that we are meeting the mandates of the blueprint legislation. So with that, I will stop there and see if there are any questions. If not, I will send it back over to Secretary Rye.
Thank you. Thank you again. So next up is legislative updates. We already heard some updates to different programs, but let me ask Derek Coley to give us legislative updates, or at least on the items that we haven't heard yet. Derek, are you here? Yes, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all this morning? Can you all hear me? I'm sorry. Okay. Legislative updates. I want to begin by thanking you all. All right. Sorry, following chat messages here as well. To begin, I want to begin with House Bill 762, which was the Maryland Higher Education Commission Higher Education Goals Bill revisions. This bill was our bill focused on the 4 pillars regarding the goals, looking beyond post-2025. This bill did not pass. However, we will continue, as you all heard from our Deputy Secretary Elena, to develop the Maryland State Plan for Higher Education with the targeted deadline for December 2025. Another bill that we looked at and championed was House Bill 479, which looked at the Promised Scholarship, Academic Program Approval Revisions Bill. This bill was actually the corrective bill sponsored by Chair Barnes and also Chair Feldman, which was a corrective bill for House Bill 1244 last session. And this bill, as you all know from the letter that was sent last April in 2024 from the chairs, was a correction wherein there was an error during the conference committee adoption of the actual final report for House Bill 1244. Again, requiring non-public institutions to submit a letter of intent, but also repealed the provision of the law that limited which institutions of higher education could propose or implement certain academic programs for graduate level programs under certain circumstances. That bill did pass and emergency legislation. Also, this bill, from my understanding, will be signed into law tomorrow as well. Another bill that we did champion was the Maryland Community Promise Scholarship Bill. Thank you to Mac, Brad Phillips, and his team as well. This bill, House Bill 473, will allow part-time associate degree students to receive the Community College Promise Scholarship for up to 6 years while maintaining the eligibility for a 3-year maximum award for full-time associate degree students as well. But it also clarifies those students who are in apprenticeship programs as well. Another bill that we did champion was House Bill 704, which was passed as well, which expanded the scholarship program for those individuals who are eligible under graduate professional scholarships. This bill was requested by the Western Maryland delegation for the Emeritus School of Osteopathic Medicine. And this bill will allow those individuals in that medical program to be eligible for scholarship assistance. out in Western Maryland at that school, MSOM. Another bill which did pass, I wanted to bring to you all attention as well, because there are 9 representatives from institutions of higher education as part of the Maryland Cybersecurity Council. House Bill 376. We did hear a robust discussion just now around transferability. You can almost guarantee that this Cybersecurity Council will be a part of that discussion as well, since there are 9 representatives identified from institutions of higher education. And I want to bring that bill to you all's attention as well for tracking and also consideration in terms of future reports and work groups coming out of the Cybersecurity Council here in the state of Maryland. House Bill 774, Hunger Free Campus Grant Program. This was a MICUBA bill. It did pass. This just allowed us, MHEC, to designate certain private institutions of higher education as hunger-free campuses. And so this bill was helpful for them in terms of leveraging that designation for additional funds as well, for food pantries and helping students who may experience hunger on their campuses. Also, when you look at wraparound services for those individuals who are pregnant and parenting students, House Bill 840, Senate Bill 511 did pass. And this bill will require institutions, again, to look at a number of referral services that will help those individuals who are parents or pregnant on their campuses to not only be successful with respect to retention, but also being able to navigate additional services that are helpful for them to, in fact, graduate from the institutions of higher education in the state of Maryland. And again, that's House Bill 840. Moving right along, I know the time is long. House Bill 643 did pass. This program is part of the Janet Hoffman Assistance Repayment Program, and this expands eligibility for those individuals who are focused on veterinary services. And this bill also was introduced last year, but finally passed this year. It requires those individuals, in order to be eligible, to actually volunteer at veterinary clinics throughout the state and provide their services to help those individual clinics and so forth. And another bill that passed, I wanted to bring to your attention, was House Bill 458, and I'll go into this bill a little further in another slide. This is the Church Succeed program, which looks at individuals and students with disabilities. And again, intellectual disabilities. And again, this bill provides funding for a pilot program for the Church Succeed program to make sure that these students are afforded the opportunity to have unique wraparound services as part of their IEP plans at the institution to ensure retention and, again, and also success. I want to close out with the legislative outlook for 2026, and I ended with the Church Succeed program. Looking forward, you all may be following what's happening in Annapolis and in Maryland General Assembly. There are a lot of legislators who are very interested in students with disabilities, but also chronic illnesses as it relates to campuses. A lot of you have weighed in and provided a voice regarding some of your best practices at your institutions. In fact, Dr. Dow led a briefing with EEE, environment education and economic development in the Senate, and also health government operations in the House, discussing the work across various segments, addressing the needs of those students with chronic illnesses. I want to bring this to you all's attention. Looking forward to 2026, I suspect strongly that these bills will continue to increase. There was also a bill as part of Legislative Black Caucus's priority, looking at students with sickle cell anemia as well. But again, students with developmental disabilities, but also chronic illnesses will be a recurring theme moving forward as more and more legislators want to look at these unique populations to ensure their academic success. Also, there remains a strong interest in economic development opportunities, as you all may know, at institutions. The legislation was expanded regarding House Bill 799, looking at the Maryland Innovative Initiative Institution Partnership Extension Program, which looks to basically leverage small business creation and research through entrepreneurial development, but also industry engagement to make sure that's transformational economic development opportunities for those students and faculty on institutions, campuses that want to, again, transform their small business development and transformational research into economic development workforce needs and so forth. And last but not least, this was touched on earlier, international students and immigration enforcement legislation, such as HB 1222. Again, we will see what happens going forward. This is of extreme concern as well for institutions, as you all discussed earlier. And with that, I will stop there. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Derek? Well, if not, then let's move on member updates. Who wants to go first? Dr. Ren, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, hi everybody. Sorry I was a little late today. A lot of meetings on a Monday, of course. So I just wanted to briefly talk about ArtSys, and if there's questions, then Candace will answer them, not me. But ArtSys's URL is going to occupy the legacy URL, and there'll be a soft launch before the formal launch. And folks have started to look at this, including the Provost Transfer Council looked at it last week. So it's moving along. I read the update this past week and lots of stuff happening. These things take time and it's really good to see. And again, with our emphasis on transfer, having these tools in the hands of students, their families, and counselors is really critical. So I don't know if I messed anything up there, Candace, or if there's any questions, direct them at Candace.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ren. Any question for Dr. Ren? I think President Power, you are the next.
Sure. Just two quick thank yous, both to you, Mr. Secretary, and the rest of your team. One for your help and assistance defending the Salinger program throughout session. Your testimony was really important for us and extremely helpful. So thank you. And second, I'll just, since we've been in 3 hours of meetings together today, I'll just say that I thought the program approval group very much well received the changes made by MHEC and was appreciative for the thoughtful feedback that you gave to the process. So thank you both to you and your team. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Dr. Phillips?
Yeah, sorry, I had a phone call, but I'll just echo what Matt just said. I mean, this year was a terrible year. The last time we had a budget like this was 16 years ago, and we got rebased down to 19.2% funding per FTE tied to the USM institutions. It's a devastating loss of resources. It took us about 13, 14 years to climb out of that. So just having policymakers understand that we're linked to what happens with our four-year institutions. They took a massive hit this session. We're going to see that in the future. So reminding legislators that the actions that they've taken in past years impact us going forward, again, is going to be an important next step as we hang on to this. I know it's a wild ride yet still ahead, but really appreciate your advocacy and supporting community colleges. Thank you all for the work that we're doing around transfer with the Aspen Institute. I'm also very excited to hear about the update with ArtSys, and I would love to invite Candace, you or Alice, to come to the President's Council and share a little bit about what you're doing. I know we have the Chancellor coming at our next meeting, but sometime over the summer, would love to have that conversation with you as well. So thanks for all you're doing. And Derek, by the way, great to see you. Thanks for all your weekly updates and leading us with our liaisons meeting.
You're welcome, Brandon. Thank you.
No, thank you, everyone. As you know, this is probably one of the most challenging budget years that the state has ever seen. So given the challenges that the state had and where we are with our higher education budget, still, there are some gaps, etc. Certainly, we recognize that. But I think higher education is in a still very good place. And we have to collaboratively keep working, keep showing the relevance of higher education. It's more relevant today than what it was, a few years ago, given what's happening, especially nationally. The impacts are pretty serious. this is just unbearable stress that's coming out from certain places, right? So we have to stick together. We have to be collaborative. We have to adjust. We have to be flexible. And certainly, Matt, when we saw what was going on, that was also pretty disturbing. And we're happy that governor's budget finally was approved, and we are in much better situation. And I thank you for all your advocacy there as well. So each segment is extremely important for higher education in Maryland. So again, thank you. How about Dr. Keys? Are you here? Any update from Morgan?
I'm here. I'm just thankful to hear what Dr. Phillips just said is so true as we balance at Morgan this drive for innovation. We actually, one of the few institutions in the state that has had continued growth beyond expectations. So the idea of having the resources there to manage the growth and the innovation is a challenge that we are working on. And we thank you for your support, Secretary Ryan and Dr. Dow, all that you've done to help us. So
I think, Dr. Keys, you have a great challenge that everyone wants in higher education. The growth is always very, very good. St. Mary's University, Dr. Gantz, are you here? Well, we know great things are happening at St. Mary's University as well. I think they're going through presidential transition. They're going through their middle states accreditation. So really wonderful things are happening there too. We are very connected with all institutions, including St. Mary's University. So just for the record, I'm going to give you 13 minutes back on this Monday, a full day of meetings and then everything else, with an advice that don't get disheartened by what's happening. I know it's easier said than done, but your work becomes even more important today than what it was in October of 2024. We are more important for our nation. We are more important for our residents of the state of Maryland. And most importantly, we are more important for our students. So the work that you are doing is extremely important. And I hope you feel connected and we don't get too disheartened about this. We will celebrate commencements. Again, as I said, please send me information. I want to be on every commencement this year if possible. Thank you again and have a rest of the day and great week ahead. Thank you very much.